Hello and welcome to our Sustaining Healthy Relationships podcasts. In March 2022, Relate NI commissioned Ulster University to carry out evidence-based research on healthy relationships and their importance across our lifespans. These podcasts delve a little deeper into our findings and we bring them to life with experts unpacking particular findings. Enjoy. Siobhan O'Neill, our mental health champion for Northern Ireland, you're very welcome to our podcast on relationships and mental wellbeing. Siobhan, can you tell us a wee bit what it's like about being our mental health champion for Northern Ireland and what you've learned in this post?
It's busy. I suppose is the one thing. There's lots of people managing my diary and working out where I need to be at different times. So that kind of lack of control is a bit weird for me. But it's just such a privilege to do this work. And when I come and visit places and meet people, there's a big expectation. I need to have the right answers. So what I've learned is always to double check and question everything. Even though you may have a view about things, you need to go and look at what the evidence is and take guidance and take advice and find out who the experts are. So it's really about that sort of constant questioning and self-awareness too has been a big part of it. So It's been amazing though. It's just been so lovely to meet people who are going through really hard times and people who are trying to make Northern Ireland a better place, and that's amazing to do that every day. Like, that's just fantastic.
Can we talk a wee bit about the importance of healthy relationships? You've been a great advocate of ours in terms of Relate and looking at relationships and the importance of healthy relationships. Can we talk a wee bit about the importance of relationships to mental wellbeing?
So I suppose it's one of the things I have learned as well. When I did psychology originally, when I studied this area, relationships didn't really come into it. It was the biopsychosocial. It was more about you needed to have some sort of social life and not be lonely. But actually now there's a whole field of science that is telling us and showing us how our brains interact with each other and how when we are connected together, our physiology changes, our body changes, we relax. The difference is huge, actually. So there's a physical effect of those relationships that I didn't quite appreciate before having this role, and that physical effect regulates us from negative emotions. It calms us down when we're stressed. It helps us feel really, really safe. And all of those things are the basis to good mental health. And also that helps us cope with stress and prevents us from developing mental illness. And when we are unwell, or if we have like depression or anxiety or those mental health difficulties, our relationships are what heal us. Even whenever we're going for therapy, it's a relationship between the therapist and the client is actually really, really important. It's a different kind of relationship, but all of those relationships are central to who we are and they keep us well. And the data now is just so strong, even looking at longevity, how long we live, risk of all sorts of physical conditions. Relationships are the big predictor. So, I'm big into doing my exercise and eating well and all of that, but we need to nurture our relationships because the evidence there is really, really strong too. So we have to remind ourselves to do it and not neglect that area of our life.
Yeah, so brilliant. I think it was a birthday card, to my best friend. Thanks so much. You've saved me a fortune in therapy.
Yeah.
and that's what we're saying. I think therapy is really important for people, but also the connections that we have, our families, our friends, our work colleagues, and just we're social animals. We need that connection so much.
We do. We need to be able to talk about our feelings to our friends. It's not talk about our mental health to a counsellor. That's nearly a different stage. But if we can talk about how we feel and know how we feel and talk to our friends, and they don't have to fix it, but just by sharing that between people, it has a really, really powerful effect. But it doesn't come naturally in our society, and we're disconnected. So actually, we need training. We need to remind ourselves to do it. We need to find it's nearly like physical activity. Yes, our ancestors did it, but we now need to go to gyms. It's similar for relationships. We need to actually work at it a wee bit But the dividends, if we do, are just so huge, which is why I'm such a great fan of everything that Relate does. It's not just about couples, it's just relationships across the lifespan, all sorts of different types of relationships.
Well, it's interesting you said that. So we were out delivering sustaining healthy relationship workshops across Northern Ireland for the past 2 years, and we're talking about all different types of relationships. But there was a wee video you made during the COVID pandemic. So you've been beamed into every community group across Northern Ireland, talking about how we manage and help our children's mental health. Can we talk a wee bit about that?
Yeah, sure, of course. So those early relationships, they're fundamental, they're big predictors of whether we develop poor mental health. The relationships with parents and caregivers, they're the template for all our other relationships, So it's helpful to kind of have that awareness of how our own relationships were and what we might have taken from that and how that impacts our everyday lives and how we run our own lives, But we can see there when there's something that interferes with that relationship, like a trauma, like a parent with a trauma who's, and a trauma causes disconnection, and then that can interfere with that relationship, and it does affect children and they pick it up. And it's not what you say, it's just how you are. Yeah. Again, it's that sort of magical stuff that we're trying to, science is showing us how it works. It's chemical, it's subconscious, but it's just really, really important. So how you are, if you're well yourself and you're able to connect with your kids, then that will help them. And that's, it's not rocket science, but it can be really hard. As a parent, this stuff is really hard. So again, you might need a bit of help to work at it, and that's grand. And, and the penny didn't drop for me until I was a mother myself, and I could see it, with my wee girl during the pandemic. If I was scared, she was scared. Yeah. She didn't know why she was scared. She would pin it onto something different, but she picked it up from me, so we need to look after ourselves first, and that's really scientific and powerful if we do that as parents and then connect.
And I think that was the really great point that you made. It was the last point in the video saying, and look, we need to look after ourselves. You need to eat well. You need to take a wee bit of exercise. You need to look after yourself because you're the caregiver. You have to fit your own oxygen mask first before you try to fit anybody else's. And I think we live in such busy worlds, and you make that point in the video as well. We're running, we're working, we're trying to get the kids sorted out, making sure school uniforms are ready and dinners are ready. How can we kind of pull back a wee bit and realise I need to look after myself so I'm fit and capable to be looking after and helping the other people in my life?
It's really hard, and I'm saying this as a lone parent, right? Just finding the time to do it is really, really tough. And again, those other people who are around you who might be able to help, you will have to call on them. And again, that's about relationships too. And be honest, I need this time. I need a bit of time, and any wee chunk of time that you get, that's how you use that time as well. So, I mean, scrolling on social media when the child's in bed, it might be better just to try and sleep or, calm yourself down. So it's just self-awareness, and not being self-kindness, self-compassion, but a bit of self-awareness and trying to just think what is really, 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 really important here. At the minute, brushing teeth is really important, and the bedtime story, even if we only get a wee story, that's really important. The homework, not so important. We can drop that. We have to you have to say, this, and if we need to miss a training session for this thing because we're a bit tired. So it's all about what can we drop here, and knowing that nobody is perfect and nobody's getting this right, but your physical health because if you end up sick, look, people are going to have to come in and help you anyway. So you got to find a way of doing it. It's really tough. You need to be really kind and watch yourself talk all the time. What are you saying to yourself? But we're all doing our best, and it's not easy.
Siobhan, you are a passionate advocate of relationship and sexuality education, and we've been watching you on social media, and we just think what you're doing, because Relate deliver some RSA as well, we're just absolutely delighted about it. Why do you think it's so important? It's easy for me to say why I think it's important, but I'd really like to hear why you think relationship and sexuality education is so important.
Well, when I was growing up, I didn't understand how important relationships were to your health and well-being, right? So I never, even until my 20s, nobody ever said this is important for your health. This is a health issue. It's health and mental health and all of that there. So, and also it often doesn't come naturally. We often have to kind of calm ourselves down and have conversations and take a deep breath and go into situations and text the friend. So there's training that you can give people that will help with this. And not all kids get it in the home. And again, I'm from a very, very privileged situation with parents and grandparents, everybody getting on grand. There's many, many families in Northern Ireland who don't have that. So you have children who don't have that model of what a good relationship looks like. And where are they getting their modeling from? Well, it could be from the soap operas and TV. It could be from stuff they're seeing online, and that extends then beyond onto sexual relationships and romantic relationships. So how do they know what normal looks like, what they should expect, how people should speak to each other and conduct themselves? And this is actually a real problem. So when we're obliged to, what's the first thing we need to be doing as educators is educating our children and preparing them for the real world and the things that they need to survive and thrive. And relationships are absolutely fundamental to that. As important as nutrition, physical activity, how your body works. It is how your body works. Actually, it's part of that too. So RSE, it's about relationships. Now, I think the S bit of it is to distract the sexuality bit, right? That gets everybody because that's difficult. And actually, it's good if a school can do that because a lot of parents have difficulty talking about this stuff. But children need to know the facts. And when they have a question, they need that question answered. And they have a device, a computer, they will go and find the answer themselves. And isn't it better that they're getting a consistent answer that's actually factual and sensible? And will prepare them for the real world than something they will see online that is skewed or, it's a minefield out there, right? So RSE in this day and age is fundamental to everything. And it's relationships and then the sexuality bit is later. But for the primary school kids, this is about friendships. Yep. We did a survey where we asked young people what are the things that cause them stress and worry, and it's academic pressure at school, friendships, friendship groups, people falling out, and parental conflict and conflict in the home. Stress. So relationships are two-thirds of that. Yep. So let's prepare children and young people to navigate those relationships. To work out what's the right thing, what's the wrong thing to do here, what should this look like, how do we end a relationship, how do we start a relationship, what about consent? And that's body boundaries, and that's from a very young age. And the first rule of safeguarding, know what the body parts are and know what is yours and have those boundaries in place. NSPCC do great work and all of this stuff, So kids need to know this stuff. And if you introduce it in a context of shame or embarrassment, they will then feel that as well. And they will not be able to talk about it when things go wrong. Yeah. And things do go wrong all the damn time. So look, I just think that the high quality RSE, look, if we could just call it RE, but then that's something different. Yeah, okay, we can't call it RE. But you know what I mean? If we could sort
healthy relationships. Yeah.
Healthy relationships. Yeah. Sexuality it's a part of it, yeah. But it's not. It's a tiny part of it, and it's not really relevant until a different stage of life, But again, they need to know that. And look, many of our young people identify as LGBT plus, and we need to know about that. Parents will, have difficulty navigating this stuff themselves. Yeah. Kids need to know about relationships. They need to know about the different gender identities, sexual orientations, and all of that stuff. And I think if we could get this done properly in schools, we would be benefiting the whole of society, and there'd be parents learning as well and relieved that this is being done right, for once. Yeah. Because a lot of us didn't get. I actually got a really good one at school. I think they did really well, but a lot of parents that are trying to do this now haven't had that, and children are telling us in all the surveys that they're not happy with what they're getting, and then they go online.
So some people, you'll probably be aware of the anti-RSE campaign, Let Kids Be Kids. So what do you say to people who hold certain beliefs and believe that they have the right to opt children out of RSE?
Well, this is a children's rights issue. This is a human rights issue. So children, young people have the right to know, to have that factual information and to have a good education that prepares them for the real world. And that's what we're talking about here. So whilst parents have a right to know what's going on in schools, they can't, they shouldn't have a right to deny the child that information and education. I don't think that they should be able to overrule this. And that's my view. This is too important. And actually, when you look at the root of that, it can be quite worrying. Why would a parent want to deny that information to their child? And what's the context of that? I would wonder, what is the fear? And we need more awareness of what RSE looks like and what relationships education looks like and the importance of relationships education. And I would say, if the curriculum's as strong as I hope it would be, that most parents would look at that and go, there's very little in there. And, in other sections of their education, they will get they will get the information about what various different religions believe about all of this, and about science and everything else. They will get that elsewhere, but they need the facts. They do need the facts, and that would be my perspective. But I think this is about actually, connecting with those parents and really understanding what that fear is about and what they think that this information will do to that child, because all children have access to this information online. Worse, more scary, inaccurate, misinformation, disinformation online. So why would they not want it given in an appropriate way at school? And it is always age appropriate. They will not be taught anything that is unsuitable to their age. And that's a fact. So I think it's about this is about trust and authority as well, and we have that problem here. There isn't a trust. So how do you get back the trust in the education system generally? And so that's all part of it. Right. But I think it's very worrying, but I don't think many parents will actually do this. But ultimately it's a human rights issue. Yeah.
Well, for me, fundamentally, as a mum of 3 kids, my kids knowing about relationship and sexuality education keeps them safe in terms of their bodily autonomy, in terms of not being exposed to sexual abuse, understand what healthy relationship looks like. I find it really, really difficult. I very much struggle with someone who would want to opt their children out of that. And if somebody's there who's an expert, who has the information, I'd prefer that they give that information to the children if I don't feel comfortable as a parent talking about it. So I really struggle with that as well. But I understand that parents feel that they have rights and they want children to remain children. But I just find it quite bizarre that, that's some parents' attitude. Yeah, because you wouldn't opt your children out of maths or, or physics, for example. Yeah.
But children are children, but they have access. If the parents don't realise that, then again, this is about that connection. Do you know what they're looking at when they're online? Not if, but when. Yeah. What are they looking at? What are they doing? But also, there's such a strong body of evidence now that the provision of and the delivery of RSE in schools reduces the rates of unintended and pregnancies, actually delays sexual behaviour, and inappropriate sexual behaviour gets called out and identified at an earlier stage. You have young people who can manage consent, who can navigate those romantic relationships. This is a great thing for our young people. Isn't it good? But it is worrying, and I would welcome engagement with those parents to just to listen, to understand what the fear is, because those are very deeply held, and you don't want to be imposing this either.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we've got to do it as well at the same time.
Siobhan, I'm handing you a magic wand and giving you some wishes for mental health and relationships in Northern Ireland. You can have as many or as little as you want. So here's your magic wand. What are you going to do with mental health and relationships in Northern Ireland?
Oh, okay. So one of the things I'm interested in is this idea of social identity, complexity and diversity generally. Right. So the idea that if we can identify with lots of different groups of people, then that this will help heal the divisions in our society. So when we're in our groups, we could find people who can swim or can't swim, who have green eyes, brown eyes, so we can really recognize that we are multifaceted, and that, even in a room of people who look very different to us, who we may feel are from a different community, let's say, that actually we have lots in common. And that I would love our children to really experience and feel the benefits of diversity through their childhood and their sporting groups and their schools, everywhere. So that I think that would really help break down some of the barriers that we have right now, and particularly the divisions that have caused the conflict, or that are features of the conflict, So that social identity, complexity, diversity, value and embracing diversity, if we could live that, really live it, that would be amazing. So that's one of the things I would like to see everywhere I go, that we have groups of young people mixing together, and reminded of how, not that we're all human, but actually there are people there. Our tribe is within that, and we can connect with people there. So I would like the tech for good. So we're not going to get rid of the evidence shows us that our phones and our devices, they're not causing mental health problems. But if we develop behaviour patterns that are that don't serve us in relation to our devices, then that can have a negative impact on our mental health. So I would like us all to be a bit more savvy about how we use our devices, I think. And I am including myself in this, of course. So we could maybe try and prioritise relationships in the real world, and use the devices to connect with people in the real world, so that we can have those face-to-face conversations. Because the literature is quite clear as well that to really get the true connection that benefits us psychologically and benefits our mental health, the face-to-face stuff is important because of all the subconscious muscle tone cues, all the eye movements and all the little flickers. That's still needed. So how we do that, sending little messages, but to connect in the real world, I think the new generation are better than we are at it. So the self-awareness to stop scrolling, and to know when it's not serving us, and to not over-disclose on social media, and to really use our devices for good. So that would be another one. And I just think we need to get to the stage where we're rolling out our SE in schools and seeing the benefits of it, and talking about the benefits of it as well, and experiencing that, to break down the fear and the boundaries. So I do think we need to take those tentative steps, and let's monitor it really, really carefully. And if there are examples where young people have been told something that's really not what you would want, we'll get it, we'll catch it, we'll discuss it and work out why and how it happened. I don't think that's going to happen with the curriculum, but I would like us to just keep going down that road where no child's denied it, but that we're monitoring very carefully and working with parents and any of the groups who have concerns that we're doing that. So that would be a good start, and recognising the toxicity of loneliness, and policies that really tackle that in a really meaningful way for marginalised groups, LGBT plus groups. People need to feel safe, so I think sexuality and gender identity are still issues, where we have discrimination in Northern Ireland, let's say. So we need to do more for those groups, and disabled people are very marginalised here too. So yeah, there's lots to do to bring more people in. So that's my utopia.
Your magic wand.
We're all very happy and getting on well together.
Siobhan, thanks so much for your time today, and thanks for taking part in our podcast.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks to my guest, Siobhan O'Neill. For further information on relationship support, briefing papers and other podcasts, check out relateni.org, and you can also listen to these podcasts from your regular platforms.